Morning, all. So this morning we're going to look at what's going on around the world of hockey, and it's quiet. I've got to be honest. There's a lot of talks of trades, potential trades, signings, what may happen. Again, I think the fact that there's so many teams that are at the cap or near the cap has made it really, really difficult. And so here we go. Matt Grzelcyk yesterday signed a 4-year, $14.75 million contract extension with Boston. You know what's bizarre is, so as somebody who's watched him develop in Boston, I think he's a legit top four defenseman, and he's very good. Grzelcyk is a very good defenseman with still some room to grow in terms of his all-around game. And yet, with this contract, I did see some comments yesterday of, I don't understand why the Bruins would pay that much for him. I would rather have, and then they named off a bunch of number 6, number 7 defensemen than Grzelcyk. No. Grzelcyk is worth that contract, and I'm glad it's done. And now we're just waiting to see what's going to happen with Jake DeBrusk and a couple of others with Boston. But decent cap hit. He's earned it, and with the departure of Torrey Krug, maybe he steps up and gets a more prominent role. We'll see. Joe Thornton. And I understand people laughing about this, but I see it a different way. Joe Thornton feels the Leafs are his best chance for a cup. Now, while people are going to laugh at that, people would have laughed at somebody saying, I'm going to the Cubs to win a World Series. Well, we're going to manage the Red Sox to a World Series. It's going to happen. Oh, the Blues? I went to the Blues to win a Stanley Cup. Caps are going to win the Cup. There's always that joke before a team wins the Stanley Cup. This year's Cup winners, Tampa Bay. Last year, they're the butt of all the jokes. So, I understand the joking around, but honestly, Toronto isn't that far off. Their core is pretty good. I think their goaltending's fine. I don't understand the need for getting rid of Freddie Anderson right now. I understand his contract's up next year. Well, if he's not that good, then you don't have to worry about paying him a lot more money. And if he's worth a whole bunch more money, then maybe he's that good. So maybe they should be finding a way to hold on to him and trim some money somewhere else. He will wear number 97. Spezza did offer him 19. So for Joe Thornton, he feels this is his best chance to win a cup. And I understand that we do make the joke. I know around Vancouver circles, the joke is always that Christian Ehrhoff left the Canucks and signed with Buffalo because he felt Buffalo had a chance to get him a Stanley Cup. And fans will get offended when players say that, but what else are they going to say? They're going to say, well, they offered me the same money the other team did, just with an extra zero. And so I took the extra zero, and my bank account's happy, so this is my cup. I'm going to get somebody to make me a Stanley Cup. I'll make my own. So, what else are they going to say? But in this case, for Joe Thornton, who's been in the league for a very long time, honestly, I think Toronto is in a decent enough spot. And there are other moves that need to be made. For instance, Mikheyev, his hearing is on Wednesday. So if you're wondering when Mikheyev's going to get signed, it's either before Wednesday or shortly thereafter. But his arbitration hearing is on Wednesday. So we're going to hear some more signings like Grzelcyk's here because there's a lot of free agents, restricted free agents who are going through arbitration right now. And so teams are going to want to get them signed. Players are going to want to sign before those arbitration hearings really get started. Stan Bowman, speaking of teams that take a lot of flack, and Bowman being a GM of a team that's been taking some in the offseason, he believes in Kevin Lankinen. Now, last year in the World Championships, we saw what Lankinen could do. And I really think that it makes some sense to not want to overpay on a goaltender. Now, Corey Crawford is going to be a good pickup for New Jersey. But I really think that after what we saw happen with Columbus this year, and with what we've seen in general with goaltenders, there are some really good goaltenders not in the National Hockey League. I kind of compare it to coaches. We complain a lot about how coaches are recycled around the league because teams know what they're getting with coaches. So you don't necessarily bring up your AHL guy. You don't necessarily bring in somebody who's never had an NHL job before. I think that happens with goaltenders too, where goaltenders will stay in the league, and there are players in the American League, goaltenders in the AHL, maybe in Europe as well, who might be better than the goaltender that's still in the NHL, but we don't know. I think what Chicago's going with here, and there's risk to it with Delia, Subban, and Lankinen, is that they're betting on two of those three, making a pretty good tandem. And in Lankinen's case, it could end up looking genius a year from now. Yeah, it could look like a mistake, but it could look genius as well. Players are going to get paid. So if a player was on the NHL roster at the time of, and that's any NHL roster at the time of the March 18th freeze, they will get 8.1% of their salary on October 31st, and that's their last check until the start of the regular season. So that's only players who were on their rosters on the date of the March 18 freeze. They will get paid 8.1% of their cash, and then that's it until the season gets started. So it's a significant amount of money for those of us who don't make the kind of money NHLers do, but this is their only paycheck. And then there's a little bit of a squeeze, I would think, for some of these players financially going forward, because again, they're multimillionaires, and not everybody's going to invest really, really well. So we'll see how things go for National Hockey League players from here, and when we do get the start of next season, whether it's January, February. I'm ready to do a video where I say, well, it turns out they're starting next season June 15th, and they're going to have it wrapped up by June 16th. They're going to have a 31-team tournament. Each game will be 5 minutes long, and the Stanley Cup will be awarded a day later. They're saying it should be fantastic. There you go. That's a good announcement. I like that a lot. Yeah, that's a really good one. I like that. That way it's next June, and you get an 82-game season. I think we should figure out a way to have an 82-game season. Each game's 5 minutes. They're all in the same building, and rollerblades. That'll get her done right there. That way you can have it outdoors. You could have it, in some remote location. You could just put like a big, outdoor rink, which, is all paved, and again, rollerblades. And you could play it out in the middle, let's just say the middle of the Yukon. So out in the middle of the Yukon, there's nobody there. They're going to fly in like 800 hockey players. They'll all be tested before they get on the helicopter. And they'll just have like a season from June 15th to June 16th, and they'll award the Stanley Cup. So, all right, there you go. Because the rumors are going to get ridiculous, right? Of course they will. Henrik Lundqvist as a cap is weird. Why is that on the board? Because Henrik Lundqvist posting a picture of himself, and there's Capitals logos, and he's talking about being a Capital, and it's just strange. It's really, really bizarre. It's going to take some getting used to. Because Lundqvist, we're used to him playing against the Capitals. It just doesn't feel right. So, all the best to him and everything. And it would be nice if he got a Stanley Cup before he retired, much like Joe Thornton. But it is weird to see him as a Washington Capital. I don't know if I'm going to get used to that anytime soon. Jim Rutherford, he envisions Kasperi Kapanen being on the same line as Gensel and Crosby, potentially. That's why I've got a question mark at the end of that. I do wonder if Kapanen in Pittsburgh ends up scoring, say, 25, 30 goals, how quickly does Toronto media spin that, right? So we know that playing on a line with Crosby will get you more points and more goals. We know that it will help Kasperi Kapanen if he's playing with Crosby. I would argue, or Malkin either. But will we see this get spun in a way to try to make Toronto look bad for trading him? Right? I'm guessing probably yes. And until Amirov comes up and starts playing for Toronto, and Pittsburgh fans can go, actually, that Amirov's pretty good, which could happen a couple years down the road, that they're likely going to win the deal in the short term. I also want to say that I don't cover it. I know that it's happening. I see it every day. There are a lot of players being loaned to European leagues right now by NHL teams. And that list just keeps growing all the time. Thornton himself playing over in Europe. A lot of players who've been off the ice for a long time, which is interesting. I was watching Overdrive on TSN the other day, and Jamie McLennan, Noodles, as he's nicknamed and all, talking about not skating and not getting on the ice because he can't do it the way he used to do it. And part of that is going to be he hasn't been on skates in a while. He talked about seeing guys that he used to play bantam with, and they hadn't been on skates in years, and watching them play hockey and being like, they used to be such good skaters. Skating is one of those talents that it is kind of like riding a bike, you don't forget how, but not really. Skating involves muscles you're not going to be using if you're jogging, you're doing any other kind of working out. It's different. And so I can understand teams needing to get players on the ice and sending them over to Europe. And it is one of those things that I think it's going to help certain players who've been fighting nagging injuries for a long time to be off the ice and not have to go through the grind. Because if you haven't played since March, right, we're now up to almost the end of October, so not that far off. It's been a long time, but at the same time, not being on skates for that long, it can be tough. It can be tough to get back into shape. Kind of kills the ankles in my experience. You haven't been on skates in a while. You throw on a pair of skates, you start skating around, you're like, oh right, the ankles. Oh, this sucks. Oh, this is gonna hurt for a while. So I can't imagine, if you're at that level, your National Hockey League level, and you go through this amount of downtime, it's got to be tough to get back up to speed. So we'll see what happens when franchises start opening up their practice facilities and we start seeing guys on the ice, which should be happening soon. I would think next 3 or 4 weeks. And it doesn't matter if we're going to have a season in January or what we're going to have. Players will need to be on the ice. Teams are going to want to evaluate players. Players are going to want to be in shape and make sure they still have their skating legs, as they're always called in commentary. We always kind of get a chuckle about skating legs, like you pop off your normal set of legs and throw on your skating legs like you're a Barbie doll before the game starts. But there is a reason that they call it that. And so I would expect more and more players to get us over to Europe. And I don't cover it as much because it's everybody's going to end up going over eventually if we don't end up with the season. So we'll see what happens. And for fans in Europe, you get to see more and more of the best players in the league. And yet it has to be somewhat frustrating to the players in those European leagues who end up getting bumped out of a roster spot by guys who come over from North America because their league's shut down. It's got to be frustrating. And it's not just NHL players. It's going to be AHL level. It's going to be ECHL guys coming over. Normally they'd have a contract in North America. They don't, so they go over to Europe. It's going to bump some guys out of jobs. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below regarding any of this. And when stuff goes down, I'll be here to report on it. Last night, I did report on a couple of baseball games as well, which went up on the Entertainment Guy. It's kind of turned into the baseball channel for now. But that's what's been on, so I've been watching that. And of course, we have football as well, so I do the power rankings for football. But hey, thank you guys so much for all your support. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thanks for all your support throughout all of this 2020 as it is and all that. I will talk to you again soon.